Halftime brought to you by The Fence Man. If you own a business that needs more security or maybe you just want it to look better and have more curb appeal, get a hold of The Fence Man. They can help with both. Been in business more than 40 years and feature 18-month same as cash financing. The number's 479-782-3936 for The Fence Man. He ain't afraid of no work. Connor O'Gara ain't afraid of no work, especially it involves football from Saturday Down South, our good friend on the show. Connor, another crazy college football weekend, and I guess we just get used to it because every weekend feels crazy right now. We had a listener text us a few minutes ago, and apparently there could be a scenario where 6 SEC West teams finish 5-3. We just need Alabama to lose 2. We need Arkansas to win 3. This is something that could happen. This is something worth rooting for, isn't it?
In 2021. Look, guys, that is something that I think would make our collective brains explode. All right, like 5-3 all around in the SEC West. I think the selection committee would just self-combust. They would have no idea what to do. It would end up just ranking like 3 SEC West teams in the top 10. And as great as that would be to kind of explain and break down, I don't think we could handle that. I truly think we would break the system if we got that.
Mm-hmm. You know, I want to go, the rankings will come out tomorrow. The only rankings that matter. I'm not even referencing AP and coaches' polls because those.
Wait, you're not excited that the Hogs came in at number 26?
No, there is no number 26. That's an RV. It's unfortunate. I want you to make your case for Cincinnati. I know you put if you were ranking them, you would rank them number 2. You know, and my whole thing is, you can show all of this and that, strength of schedule and victories over whomever, but as far as I can see, and I'm not a committee member, the committee doesn't care about any of that. If you're a group of 5 team, you're not part of their gang. That's what it's about to me. So you go ahead and make the case for Cincinnati if I was a committee member and you're trying to dress me down about it.
Everybody's sitting there ripping Cincinnati for barely pulling out a win against Tulsa. You know what Tulsa did against Ohio State? It was down by a score with 4 minutes left in that football game in Columbus. You know what Tulsa did against Oklahoma State, who's probably going to be ranked number 10 in the rankings on Tuesday night? They lost by 5 points to Oklahoma State. So all of these people that are coming out of the woodwork saying, see, Cincinnati's a fraud. Okay, I saw Ohio State really struggle against Tulsa badly. Really badly. And Ohio State's still probably going to be ranked ahead of Cincinnati. I came back to the belief of, look, this weekend showed exactly why nobody has that extra gear outside of Georgia. It's just not there. You're seeing all these top 6 teams play down to their competition, and you're seeing that they really don't necessarily have the ability to kind of distance themselves from the rest of the pack. And if I'm looking at that and I want to see, hey, who have you beat? Notre Dame beating the Irish in South Bend like that, it's still one of the 3 best wins in all of college football, and you can't convince me otherwise. So I don't have a problem with Oregon necessarily being ranked ahead of Cincinnati, even though Oregon has the 1 loss, because at least Oregon went on the road and beat Ohio State in Columbus. But these people that continue to say, oh, Cincinnati shouldn't even be in the top 10 because of that Tulsa game, that's just selective viewing, and you're just taking out what Ohio State did in the exact same scenario.
It really is. It's absolutely absurd, the comments that people say, you know, from the look at the conference that they play in, which, I mean, in most years, the American Athletic Conference is much better than it is this year. I think this is probably one of the worst years for AAC football that we've had since its founding, you know, back in 2013. So that kind of goes against them. But anybody that, you know, brings those type of situations up, they're just afraid to call it what it really is. It's an invitational, and it's a good old boys club. If you're not one of the 10 teams that have already made it in, chances are you're not going to make it in at this point, right? It's just it's absurd that it's actually still referred to as a playoff.
Yeah, I'm very skeptical of this moving forward because I truly think if Cincinnati does not make the playoffs going undefeated this year, they should just announce a group of 5 teams are exempt. They should really make that rule because Cincinnati having a win that has actually held up. You know, it's not like if Notre Dame were 4-4, this would be a totally different conversation. I wouldn't be sitting here on live radio banging the drum for a group of 5 teams to get a chance. But you know, reality is that win has held up really, really well. And what has Ohio State done? Ohio State is a 9-point win against Penn State. Penn State has 3 losses. Like what what are we doing here? They're looking into the crystal ball and they're trying to forecast down the road, and they're saying, oh, well, they still have a path to the playoffs. Like, but what have they done? What have they done? And that's the problem that I have with it. That's the problem that I have with definitively saying that some of these Power 5 teams are better than Cincinnati when at least I've seen Cincinnati's upside, all right? At least I've seen what they can do in a hostile environment, and people that say Notre Dame is overrated are ignoring the fact that the Irish are 43-8 in their last 3 years coming into this season. So if it can be viewed as a quality win for Georgia back in 2017 and in 2019, then it should be viewed as a quality win for Cincinnati in 2021.
I'm with you, Connor, and I know we got to kind of lean more towards the SEC and what people around here want to talk about, but going from the argument for the best teams, I want you to make an argument for which one of these two teams is worse. Is it 4-5 Texas or is it 4-5 Florida? Which one's worse?
4-5 Florida's worse, man. Like that was so bad. Gosh, I can't believe how bad they looked against South Carolina. I thought they would come out in that game and at least be able to move past the Georgia debacle, but what we saw was a team that was just not interested in showing up there, and that defensive performance was horrible. I mean, South Carolina had one of the worst run games in all of college football. They couldn't get anything going. And Florida, if you saw their play at the line of scrimmage, it was terrible. And Todd Grantham getting fired last night, not necessarily a surprise, something overdue. He had the worst defense that Florida has had since the Woodrow Wilson administration. All right, like that. The fact that he was allowed to come back this year was baffling to me. But Dan Mullen's going to Dan Mullen. So this is a Florida team that's just a disaster. At least Texas has like some guys. Like Bijan Robinson is a stud, and he's fun to watch on a weekly basis. But like Florida doesn't even have that at this point. They don't even have that star power. It's gone from bad to worse in Gainesville, and it feels like we're heading towards a Dan Mullen firing in a matter of weeks here.
Bonus points to you for a Woodrow Wilson mention there. We'll give you
Love
more
it.
if you get in like a James K. Polk at some point next week. Hey, I thought it was really something to see Texas A&M beat Auburn just with their defense alone. I mean, and this A&M pass rush is legit, but it also does show, Bo Nix didn't really have to move his feet very much last couple of weeks. There are a lot of quarterbacks that could be really good when they're not always on the run, and it seemed like he was on the run quite a bit against A&M.
Mike Elko said that his defense has been really, really good ever since falling behind 17-0 Arkansas. And he's right. He's 100% right. The Aggies are such a solid group defensively. We'd be talking about them a lot more if they only had the one loss and if Georgia's defense wasn't doing what it's doing. But, man, they're loaded with NFL talent, and they're getting guys like Tyree Johnson and Edgerrin Cooper who are just emerging kind of out of nowhere. Antonio Johnson, these guys who are having, like, legit all-SEC types of seasons that it has probably allowed the win that Arkansas had in Dallas to age that much better. I mean, because A&M has figured some things out, and they have a tough matchup this weekend on the road in Oxford. College game, they're going to be in the house for that one against Ole Miss. But A&M has turned into the football team that I thought they were going to be coming into the year. It just took a little bit too long for them to get there.
Connor, what were your thoughts on Mike Leach's comments after his loss to Arkansas over the weekend about their kickers, about having open tryouts? Was it quirky, jokey, Mike Leach, or do you think that he kind of went too far with it this time?
My plane ticket to Starkville is booked. I have 4 years of eligibility.
All right.
All I want to do is kick some footballs in an SEC game. I don't think that's too much to ask. I think that's perfectly fine. Look, when you go 0 for 3 with 2 kickers and you lose in that fashion, this is probably more so Mike Leach feeling bad for his quarterback, Will Rogers, because Will Rogers played well enough to win that football game. He really did. And I know he had the pick to Grant Morgan. And other than that, though, I mean, I thought he was really, really good. And that's probably more where the frustration stems from. Look, Mike Leach is that guy when he loses. I mean, he called his offensive line, fat, lazy, and entitled last year or 2 years ago with Washington State after a loss. Like, that is who Mike Leach is in these moments. He's blunt. He's not going to sugarcoat anything. And when you kick the ball that poorly, yeah, I mean, I sort of get it. You have one job, but it's to make field goal kicks. And when you can't do it and it's a winnable game for your team, you're going to be really frustrated about it.
I think these kids know who they're signing up to play for. Somebody
that is true.
Just kind of spouts off at the mouth no matter what the situation is. Hey, Connor, last thing. We went into the last break just pointing out how different things can be in 2 years. I believe it's tomorrow is the anniversary of the firing of Chad Morris, or which coincides with the Western Kentucky game, of course, from that year. The very next game they played, 45-point underdog to LSU. They're favored in Baton Rouge for this Saturday. What do you think about that?
Do you guys have Ty Story's number? Like, do you guys regularly communicate with him? Because I'd love to just get his take. I'm long overdue to have him on the podcast. I need to be able to do that. Now that you bring that up, it shows you everything, and it shows you why you make these decisions and why Hunter Yurachek was smart to recognize that they needed to make a change, and badly. And now for Arkansas, you're feeling good about the direction that this program is in. 8-4 seems very realistic for the regular season. And LSU, I don't know what to expect, because that was quite the effort that they put together against Alabama. They basically had half of their defensive starters out, but I would still think that Arkansas would have a very, very solid chance to be able to win that football game, because I don't know who's going to cover Traylon Burks. Their secondary is decimated. So, yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, Arkansas is in such a different place than 2 years ago. Same thing with LSU, of course, but that's why you make the move, and you can't necessarily be afraid to fire a failing coach.
Hey, by the way, we've got a listener who's from the same hometown that Ty Story's from. He just texted us, so we might be able to hook you up with him at some point. It's a good thing you called in today. It's a good thing we had you on today, huh, Connor?
Well, let's make that happen. We need to tell Ty Story's story, if you will, to the masses. Let's do it.
I sure do. Need his opinions on Chad Morris 2 years after as well. Connor, great stuff as always. Appreciate you. Have a great week.
Appreciate it, man.
Hey, appreciate it, Connor.
That's Connor O'Gara from Saturday Down South.
We're back, and better than ever, a new web interface to start the basketball season, and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your #1 spot for all basketball and football action this season. Head to the new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BELIEVE50 to receive your bonus. That's BLEAV 50 to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, and baseball postseason, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.